expecting me. That's what I'm expecting. I learned at an early age that that's something my mother always told me, people not gonna think the way you think. So when you realize that, you don't, I don't expect. I didn't expect.
Okay. So I didn't expect much either, but forthright, because if you say you're gonna meet me, here's the problem. Sometimes when life swings around, you haven't seen your kids and they come in your life. He told his wife that he had no kids when he married his second wife. He had married my mom, then he married his second wife. He said he had no kids. So you might as well, I'm alive now, and I met his wife the day before I met him. So you might as well be forthright. That's what I expect. Okay. I didn't say he lied to me. I just didn't think he went to the full step. He met me, but I was disappointed the next day. So, and it wasn't because of an unrealistic expectation. It's just that he did something totally disrespectful in my eyes, and I just cut it off. You didn't have anybody you had to meet, did you?
I mean, it was the whole family.
Oh.
And I went
You was
to
there
get
with
closure.
them?
No, I went and, I moved it to another state, and I went to get closure, back home to get closure, and I got the closure I wanted, but it was the wrong way that I got it.
What do you mean? You had to go to a third party to get your answers?
No, the one of the family members that was the biggest rapist or whatever. I went to him to get closure, and I took my niece with me, and she was older, and her body was developed, and the first thing he said was, "Man, when you left, you took the rest." Because when I left, it was like everybody else.
So no one ever did anything about that in your family? No. Isn't that one of the biggest problems we have is
pushing it under the rug?
Absolutely. And then this big thing we saw on the news about R. Kelly, blah, 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 and how parents allow this to happen. And I think that's one of the things we really need to stop, because these are the women who are coming up today who have not addressed some of those things. And does it affect... What did wait a minute, before you start, let me ask you a question. Before you address that in your life, had you already started having kids?
Yes.
Did that affect you having kids in some way?
It affected me in so many ways.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And I was just talking to someone today. When I really write the book Life After Being Touched, it'll probably surprise people how open I'm going to be about what I did. And when I finally snapped out of having sex here and having sex there and having sex there, and when I really looked at it, it's like, why? Because at 14, that was not on your mind. At 15, that was not on your mind to do that. And then just the other day, I was thinking of how it happened to me, where I was, and it was at night when it happened, and I'm like, what did I do to make this person think that it was okay?
It took a while to figure out that it was his problem, not yours.
Right.
Right.
So going back to your question, I had 2 kids, maybe 3 kids. When I finally started talking about it to where it released, I was in my 30s. So because it caused problems in my marriage.
Right. See,
so that's what made me. I'm going to cut you off, but that's what made me say, okay, enough is enough. Because had I not been married, I probably wouldn't have talked about it. I don't know, but what made me finally say, okay, I got to get it out, is because my ex-husband thought I was cheating on him because we were being intimate, and I would just tell him, okay, stop.
Because you'd have flashbacks.
Right, and it just made me feel so nasty. And it's hard for people to understand, or I'm pretty sure it's going to be hard for people to understand, well, how did it make you feel nasty, but you did this and this after the fact? Because I didn't know if this is what I was supposed to be doing, not supposed to be doing. I didn't have a mother to talk to.
And that's the very reason why we should have the talks about who's really jacking up our families. And if we don't do that, we go out, we have families, it affects you, 20, 30 years later, and it affects your marriage, it affects our relationships. I tell you, my lack of what I didn't get affected me in my marriage because I was still searching for the person who's supposed to be loving me. And that takes something away from you when you're not fulfilled with the information, i.e. love and protection, that you'll be right in this same circle trying to figure your life out. And by that time, sometimes it scars our kids.
If I can say, I had two issues at one time because I was trying to deal with getting that out. So what I thought would kind of help my marriage. And then at the same time, the person that I needed, as you said, I couldn't go and talk to, I was still battling trying to get this woman's approval. It's like a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, and I know I have the mindset to do it. I wanted this person to just say, okay, you can do this. Okay, I see this in you. So I had to let go of two things. I had to get that out, and then I had to finally say, okay, we're never going to have a bond. It just is what it is. Do what's in you to do.
Right.
And that's when I found out what my true purpose was.
Okay, so when did you, so you said you came to a point where you says, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to put my life in the perspective that I want it.
Yeah.
Okay. When was that?
Well, the first was in my 30s, and then the other was just like a couple of years ago, to be honest with you. I mean, and that's when I talk to women and men, and I try to tell them, to encourage them, as you said, some people don't want to walk away from family. They feel like because the word family, and we grew up, okay, family is here. You, regardless, you get mad, but you're here. But if family is going to keep you from being the best that you can be, you have to walk away.
And I think it's like a Stockholm syndrome, you know, loving the people who your captors were. If they don't get it right, if they don't get it right, then you're subject to that, and you keep loving wrong. So it was when did I
finally just walk away? To be honest.
No. The idea that you needed to walk away. There you go.
Well, the idea was with me and, you know, my past of my dysfunctional home and my present life, things going on. I had to just come to a halt and say, wait a minute. One of them gotta go, and it ain't gonna be me.
Right.
So I had to let my family go and focus on my present situations and my present life because it wasn't balancing.
You know what I did? One day I was sitting in my room after my divorce, and I was talking to myself, and I says, whatever's going on, you got to change it. You got to stop whatever, this is it. I just got to do something totally different because I had this decision-making wave that was how I made my decisions, and I just lived off of that, and that wasn't working. And I saw all the people that I hurt, and I was divorced, and I wasn't with my kids, and I was like, here's what I'm going to do. This is me talking with me. I says, I am going to be somebody brand new. I am going to be the person I ever wanted. Regardless getting the answer, and that's what I wanted to say is, regardless whether you get the answer, you have to make a choice what you're going to do. If you keep going to the door and the door never opens, then you have to start anew. So we can ask for the conversation. We can get the talk. But at the end of the day, you have to live your life. And if you're a parent, you're responsible for those kids after you. So you don't want to be like the people who made you. You got to be greater than the people who made you and sacrifice not getting those answers to move forward. Because when I had a conversation with my mom, when she put it all in perspective, that was 2 years later. And I was doing all right. Everything was going great for me because I had my plan, my personal plan going. I had my family plan going. I did everything I could. And then I found myself in a good place. So I thought it was good. So I thought it was good to hang out with her. And we have that conversation. I was devastated in her statement, but I was already prepared to move my life forward before the conversation, which really helped me. So everybody's not going to get that turn, you know, like you did, that epiphany for you and for me and that. But if we love in a manner forward that our kids, they'll never have to come to that point where they need to have that talk. Right. And they need to ask those things.
I did a show when I was with Instinct, and I titled it Learning How to Let Go of Leftovers. And it was talking about my past and what I had to do to get to the next level. And one of the things I said was, when I spoke on depression, was people can indirectly cause you to be depressed. They don't know it. But it's our fault if we hold on to it.
And they don't even know it. They don't even
know.
care.
No.
Right. It's like when a relationship ends, you worried about the relationship, then another one. It's like that.
Right.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm all for it. I am very in the now when I make decisions about people. I tally up, are they good for me? Are they good with me? Can they give me what I need? If they can't give me what I need, then it's okay for me to let them go. Unrealistic expectations on the idea of a relationship with somebody because you want to be in a relationship or you want your family a certain way. I believe if you have expectations, they should be so realistic that you know how you're going to get them. And you already know whether the person can provide it or not. You need to study that idea of what can and what cannot be done because why? Because it's nothing worse than having an unrealistic expectation hit you in the face and you feeling sad about it. I'm all for it. I'm all for what, like you said, whatever it takes for you to move forward. That's what you should be doing. I mean, I would like to think that most people are getting what they want, but we know they don't. That's why we do what we do.
No. But see, that's why it's more, from my opinion, it's more failed relationships. Because people are still looking for someone to fill that void or something they didn't
From way back when?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we come into this realm where we start affecting the relationships we're in, and we've never addressed. So I want my kids to live a great life. Now, whether they live a great life is up to them. But on my team, on my watch, I'm going to have to give them everything so they have the opportunity to do that. Not no unanswered questions from me, because they were like, there's nothing worse than an adult saying, I hate you because you didn't love me right and you didn't teach me right. You know, I've seen that. I've seen young people tell their parents, and I'm pretty sure those parents were subject to something like what we've been talking about. They just wasn't 100% engaged with the idea of growing their child because of fears and old pain. True story, lady I met a couple of years ago, she tells me she was molested. And she tried to do everything she could to make sure her daughter wasn't molested. Her daughter was on a basketball team. She wouldn't let her go to any functions outside of the game. And then one day, the coach talked her into allowing the daughter to come be with the team at her house. And the coach's boyfriend raped the daughter.
What?
Yeah, so I mean, I made that statement to say this: is we can try our best, but if life grabs you, then life grabs you. But on our watch, we have to do the best we can to make sure that we are doing our part. I was telling the dad the other day, he's like, you know, I got this 14-year-old and 16-year-old son, and I'm trying to get them to understand that when you get out in the world, these are things you're going to have to do, like pay rent. I says, well, are you giving them an allowance and charging them for their room? He said, no. I said, at what part?
That's where it starts.
Yeah, at what part are you teaching him the understanding that you're going to have to pay rent when you get out there? He says, I'm just telling him. I said, no, you got to show him. You make it a practical application at home. That's what training is. Then you will help them to go beyond that point. Because if he doesn't and he fails, guess what he's going to do? Come right back to the house. So, I mean, we can no longer live off the idea they did the best with what they had. We got everything. We got Kimberly, I'm real. We got Paul Posey, we got Alicia. We have living testimonies of what went wrong, and we're in the business of getting it right.
And the thing I liked about when we first started the show, you had your the way you dealt with it, and the way you dealt with it. And neither one of us tried to convince each other that it was anything different. So we have to be aware, or well, we know, but other people have to be aware of not allowing other people to convince them that your way is wrong and my way is correct.
Absolutely.
Because all that's going to do is draw you into another situation, and you're still never going to find your complete self.
Absolutely. How much you love you. You know, you can't love people more than you love yourself.
But people don't understand that. People feel like they're not loving themselves unless they're loving somebody else.
True. Or still needing the love of someone else.
And it's sad, and I've said this, and I've said this on several times on my show.
At least 6 times last week.
Right. But people, you know, I'm good with a relationship, but I'm good with our relationship because the one thing I learned a lot from my grandmother on my father's side. For one, she really showed me at the saying how to turn, what is it, to turn a dollar into whatever, how to say it?
15.
Flip drugs?
Flip
drugs?
No.
Oh.
So she really taught me that. And then my grandmother also taught me that she never ever married. She married once, and she was good with that. She had a boyfriend. He never stayed at her house, but and that once they stopped talking, she was good. So she really, really taught me how to love myself, be okay with myself. If I entertain another relationship, I'm good. If I get married again, good. But if not, I'm so complete within myself. But that doesn't mean I'm not good for somebody else. That just means I'm okay with who I am.
That's exactly what I put in the book.
Right. I'm okay with me.
If you
And a
get
lot
you
of people
together.
feel like they let other people tell them, well, something wrong with you because you're not in a relationship. No. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you.
I done pushed myself away from relationships because I know how to love. I done been in relationships to the point where I've taught people how to love, but I'm not getting it. I'm not getting
Well, I
it.
can say sometimes for women, the reason y'all single is y'all know too much. Calm down, Kimberly.
What you mean we know too much?
You know too much. Well, men
Well,
like.
look, I tell
let me
people,
finish.
I
Let me
tell
finish.
people, let me tell you this first, because then I want you to come back with
It's like
that.
we're married.
I
Honey,
had good brothers.
right?
My brother was good, and his friends, I would just sit there and listen. So,
And
you know.
that is exactly what I just said.
And I
You
learned
know too
from
much.
Working in the barbershop.
Absolutely. So well, here it is. If men like to fool you,
Men.
well, they're incomplete anyway. So majority of men are incomplete. They're not on that 100% when they come to meet you. They want to fool you. And if you know too much, ain't nobody fooling you. So you see it coming a mile away, right?
I
You
forgot
like-
what life I'm trying to live right now, because that's not really what they want to fool you, but they want to, the other F word. at
What does
the
that
same
mean?
time.
What does that mean?
That's where the fooling come from.
Well,
come in.
yeah, fooling around.
No, they want to fool you to think it's something else, and all along it's.
Well, let's not act like it's all men, because some of y'all women.
Well, see, I was honest. We taking it to another story,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, okay,
I was,
wait.
I was honest
Yeah.
back then. That's how bold I was, but it came from what I went through. I used to actually be like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna.
Yeah, see?
right
Getting
there.
that.
Yeah, I used to say that,
Right.
but that came from what I went through because I was like, okay,
Well, I'm
I'm
glad
supposed
you
to
forgave
do this, I'm
yourself,
supposed to do this.
Kimberly.
Oh, of
I'm glad
course.
you did.
And I didn't wait on nobody else to do it, and
So-
I'm okay with telling it because it could help somebody else.
Absolutely, but
and I'm controlling.
but not understanding your basic relationships were shattered in the beginning when we talk about family dysfunction, is if your relationship is not cemented with your dad, and for some men their relationship not cemented with their moms, there's difficulty trying to get to the point of relationships because the respect and the love I should have for a woman had to be learned over a long length of time instead of a bond and a connection with my mother in the beginning. So these are the people that we're dating. So these things we talk about, dysfunctional people and families, they go out and try to be with other people.
So
Yeah.
do you think you give, the Whitney Houston song just came to me, but after what you just said about the bond and your mother,
Mhm.
do you really think, or if you do, and if you did back then, how long, do you really think or thought you were giving good love?
I didn't know what it was.
Okay,
Matter of fact, I didn't even know how to receive it.
okay. And
Yeah.
some people won't
Yeah,
admit that. A
yeah.
lot of people won't
No,
admit
this is a
that.
transparent show.
No, but I mean, a lot of people won't admit that.
No, I had to decide to be honest with myself. The greatest lie I ever told was not saying how I felt. So once I started saying how I feel, there's nothing you can't ask me that I can't answer because it empowers me to really know me and have my voice come from my mouth to my ears. This is how I feel. So when I figured out that I didn't know how to love, I understood my divorce.
Okay.
I truly understood my divorces because the cardinal things I needed to do in there was love and receive love and reciprocate and all those things that go with it. And partnership, I had no clue, but I got married. So that taught me a lot right there of what needs to go on in a relationship. So, but sometimes we only learn those things is through pain, the education of pain, to get us to understand what we're missing. And we actually take people along for the ride. And that's a sad thing because we practice on the people that we love. And some of that goes back to the relationships we had as family. You know, I wanted to leave home because my siblings were conducting their lives like my mother. It was horrific. All the yelling and screaming and the cussing, you know, they just weren't getting along. And that's what we saw in her relationship. Some people leave home, they go get married. They get married to get out their house. Now, are you loving for love or are you loving for escape? And that goes back to the dysfunction in the home. Or you meet somebody who's not from a dysfunctional family and you want them to love you, but they look in there and say, hey, there's a lot wrong with y'all. That's why you don't take them home. That's why you don't meet them for 15 years. And now I see that when things go wrong, you act like that. So there's so many things that our cardinal relationships spawn into our life. And we're driven to love people even if they hurt us. And we can't make a decision not to love them anymore until we become adults. Because sometimes, like I said, Stockholm Syndrome,
Say that again?
sometimes we love the people that hurt us. Because we are to love them. Those are our family. That's who we love. We love our parents. And sometimes we don't figure out that it's not love until after we leave home. Not for you, but the people I talk to, they were like, hey, I didn't know how bad it was until I left.
Right, okay.
And that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and then when you do that, why you leave? Why people join the Marine Corps? Why people get married? Why? Because when you're living in the house of pain, you want to escape. But sometimes you jump out the frying pan into a fire, or you don't know how to conduct yourselves, or the cardinal things you should have got, like learning how to pay rent, learning how to take care of yourself, cleaning your house. Some people live in such turmoil that when they get their own place, it looks like a junkyard, the same junkyard they left. It's sad. We need to learn how to love and live before we get out in the streets and make kids, because we're going to teach them and model the same things that we learn, or we might do, if we're lucky, do a 180 and turn around and try to do it right. Because I would talk to other parents. I always tell dads, talk to another dad. You ain't the first dad. I had a young man tell me, well, I'm going to do it the way I want to because nobody told me when I was a kid. I said, but you got a son now. You can't do that. To your son. You got to do it better for your son. You need to cohort with other dads and come up with an idea how to make you a greater dad. And that's why, now, this is what we're talking about. I Am My Own Dad was about meeting my dad and making a decision that I need to be the dad that I ever wanted. Still got all my teeth. I wanted certain things, expectations of a dad. This is way before I got a chance to meet him.
Okay.
If I had a dad, because I saw my siblings' dad,
Okay.
but it wasn't mine. But I was like, man, if I had a dad, I want him to be like this. I want him to be forthright. I want him to be healthy. I want him to be, a go-getter. I want him to love me. I want him to talk to me. So now that's what I do with my kids. For no apparent reason, I talk to them. Not because there's a problem. I talk to them. They call me for nothing. Really? I mean, that's a new concept for me. It was. I mean, when they started calling me, it was a new concept because I didn't know what we do as dads. So I had to come up with what I'm gonna do. Really.
And see, although I did not grow up with it, I left at 15. I think right when I needed my mom, I still knew how to be a mom. You know what I'm saying? I still knew how to be a mom and to love, and my kids know that I love them. I say that the thing that my mother gave me that probably was the hardest thing towards people is my mother taught me how to deal with the real world. Because my thing was, if my mother could say something as such to me, or if my mother could block me out, what did I think the real world could do to me?
Absolutely.
And I tell people all the time, I hate the fact that we don't have a mother-daughter bond, but I love what she instilled in me, and especially with the way the world is today.
Absolutely. My mom.
I would not trade that for anything in the world, because I feel like if I didn't have that, because I was such a loving person and a caring person with a big heart, people would really have walked over me.
Let me give props to my mom. Okay, I don't do it too often. My mom prepared me for the Marine Corps. When I got to the Marines, it was easy as hell. and I already knew how to cuss. But she also taught me the value of going to work no matter what,
Okay.
and how to protect myself. She was the Don King to my first fight. I got to give her props for what she did, but
Okay.
the other things that I didn't get. So was it a sacrifice to either give me this or that? It still left me in limbo. Still left me in limbo. However, you got to give props what props will do. And she raised 4 boys, and all of us are boys, men, rough, hard-headed boys. You know, we are brothers, and we love each other. And it's just the real important part to me. I guess I call it important now because I don't have it. But the idea is the real important part when I look from a mom and a dad is love me so I can love. And if I don't have that, that's what puts me at where I'm at today. I'm in a better spot. I went and got what I needed. But it'd been nice to get it as a young man instead of an older man, and how you create a family and you have a wife and you have to get a divorce and things like that, because your idea of family is, well, for me was I got married and then it was like, okay, we're married. It wasn't like, oh, this is what we're gonna do and this is what we're gonna do. And my wife tried to help me with that because she made a profound statement. She says, we will not have dysfunctional kids. She said that early on. So how do you not have dysfunctional kids? You have to do functional stuff to make sure, you know, we kind of missed the boat that we did not sidestep the idea of being dysfunctional. But for them, answering all their questions and being responsible to your word and try not to fail them and model what you want them to have went a long way. But that's not how I grew up. So if you're ever going to want to move forward in life, sometimes you have to be the sacrificial lamb. And the buck stops where you're at. And you just can't tell your kids, you know, how bad you had it and have them live through that same cycle because you had it that way. He says, no, what we're going to do now? You know, my mom, she was a world-class ass whooper. And she was ambidextrous, I think, too. So,
Both things.
yeah, so I didn't have to go through that with my kids because I had to be smarter than my kids. How do you be, you know, you've been a kid before. You could be smarter than your kids. And I found that it was much easier doing it that way than what she gave me. And I'm saying that she was 100% wrong for whipping me because she did give me, she told me one time, I don't know if it's a compliment, but she says, I never whooped you for the same thing twice. Is that a compliment? I got to give her credit for that. I mean, that was the closest thing I had, right? But the idea is what I felt I really, really needed, I really, really didn't get. But I went and found a way to get it. And one of the things was loving myself and purposely loving other people. However, living in a world without love, when I notice people who are not loving me, there's no problem to cut them off. There's, you know, I already got that, what you said let
Cut
go?
off switch.
Letting go of leftovers.
Yeah, they ain't gotta be, they can still be warm. And I could
Well,
just,
we hope they're warm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, body's not everywhere, but the idea is just you could just cut it off because you're not doing what I think a friend should be doing. You're not doing what a spouse should be doing because I've already been there, done that, and I wrecked it, and I took the class after that. So I have an understanding of family now, what I want, expectations of family, and knowing that there's some work to make each expectation come true. You know, I can't expect the kids be over my house on Sunday, every Sunday, and I'm not cooking, nor am I calling, making sure they come. You know, I haven't set the standard. And that's a lot of things that happen too, is we have no standards for family because we've been so decimated. Now we're finally trying to get tradition and standards now. Because the tradition and standard when I was a kid was a card game and a fight, and then you walking through ashtrays later the next morning. So that was a tradition. So I don't want that one. So, but I didn't know you had to create new ones. So when you're thinking about family and ending dysfunction, get ready